Hey everyone, it's Julian. Today I'm going to be bringing you a brand new Cosmic Techno tutorial. I'm going to be talking to you guys about a bunch of new stuff that I have figured out and making this style and showing you some new techniques as well as some new sounds. And yeah, as usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Let's dive in. So here we are, this is the project file, we're at 130 BPM, and the first thing I have here is the rumble kick, which sounds like this. So the way this kick works is you can hear it's a nice and very crunchy and textured kick. And so the way that we're doing this is the main kick is two layers. We have this one, which is what's giving that nice, crunchy, very thick mid-range texture. And then this one, which is just doing the low, and I'll play you the original kick of this. And you can see I'm using EQ3 here to separate them, so it makes it really easy, because you just set the low end frequency to wherever you want the crossover point to be, and then you just put the mids and highs on one, and then the lows on the other. And you can even have a third kick that was just the highs if you really wanted to, but I really liked the highs and mids of this kick. So then we put those together, and you kind of get the best of both worlds, because this kick on its own, I didn't like the low end as much, but this one didn't have as good of high end. So it's why not just put them together and make a perfect kick? And then the rumble is being made using one of those kicks. Yeah, so it's that first one. And what I did here is, this is just playing 16th notes. And then we're just low passing it. So here's without that. And then with it, this is a nice way to create a rumble, because you get that more full, kind of rolling bass. Versus when you make a reverb rumble or even a delay rumble, that's more when you want a kind of, a quicker sound. But in the case of this, you really just want that very full, like that. So that's what we're doing here. And then that's just being sidechained to kick 2, and then so that doesn't get in the way. And then we just have an EQ cutting out a bit of room for the kick. And then on the group of those, we just have a bit of drum bus. You can see it's actually hitting pretty hard. So here's without it. And with it, it just really brings these together and makes them feel really big and full. And so yeah, I just have that on the hard setting, so it's quite a bit of saturation, but it just adds texture and makes the kick really, really fat and stand out in the whole track. You can also see I turned the transients knob up. And yeah, then we have this growl, which sounds like this. So these are the types of growls that you hear in these techno tracks a lot. A lot of people use these. I've used these in my tracks. It's just a really nice sound, because you kind of have the lead, which is very melodic. But if that just kept going with that same thing, say we just went you can see it doesn't really flow that well. So this is a nice way to fill in that space. And kind of let your ears take in everything that you're hearing, rather than just having another melody there. This is just a nice simple sound, and it's just playing one note. It's just playing F. That's the key that we're in. And yeah, and then for the sound with this one, so this is made with wavetable. And what's happening here is we have 3 waveforms happening here, because we have the sub, which yeah, you can see that it's set like that. I have a saw wave here, and then we also have this sweep 4 wavetable here. So if I turn off the saw wave and the sub, you can hear that's just adding this nice, messy, crunchy kind of texture. So you can see I've got a bit of FM with that, which is being modulated. You can see all the modulations happening here. So we're just putting that underneath this super fat saw wave and sub combo. So here's what those sound like. Yeah, those are really fat sounding. but they don't, and they sound good, but they don't really have the texture. So then you put them with the other wavetable, and there we go. It just adds in a bit of nice texture to the sound. And yeah, then we just have a bit of unison. You can see I've got the voices on 8 and the amount there. And then we just have a bit of reverb. The reverb is pretty important with this one, because like when I was working on this, I noticed like if you don't have the reverb, it doesn't really feel right when it just like stops. Like it feels weird, and I feel like this is one of the things that can really make the difference between like an okay track and a really professional track. Is like having, just letting that ring out like that. As almost like a drone underneath the lead there. Then we have this EQ, which is just shaping the sound a bit, kind of boosting the high mid-range and bringing out that, like, growly sound more, and then cutting some of those muddy low mids. Here's without this. And then with it, so you can hear where we add this. It's a nice way to just shape the sound and make it, like, exactly what we want. Then we just have some drum bus. You can see that's on the hard setting, so it's really fattening it up. This really helps with the reverb, too. Like, that's a really good way to just make that reverb when you stop the sound. And then we just have this auto pan here and this high pass filter. So the high pass is just cutting out the low end, and the auto pan is making it sound like it's sidechained to the kick. And then we just have this low pass filter, which just automates like right in this one. It kind of makes more sense when you hear it underneath that atmosphere, because the idea there is like the growl is kind of like losing the high end, and as the high end goes away, the atmosphere comes in more. So that's what that low pass is for. And yeah, then we have this little effects atmosphere, which sounds like this. So this is the sound that I made. The way that I made this is actually by taking a vocal sample. I can show you the technique now really quick. So basically just grab like a vocal. You kind of want like a melody, so maybe. Yeah, we'll take that one. And then what you do, usually I like to reverse it and pinch it down a little. So once you have that, all this takes to get the sound is you just put it through a bunch of reverb and put some echo on there too. You can also use delay. You can use any reverb or delay plugin you want. I'm just using the Ableton ones. So then you get that like ringing out thing, and then all you have to do is just freeze it, and ideally, and flatten it as well. And ideally, the vocal would already be in key with your track. If not, you can always just take it and pitch it later. But then we just delete this. That's like the original vocal, and now we just get this cool atmosphere sound. And then if you just take that, you can do like all kinds of stuff. Like you do. Make like a little loop like this. Yeah, there's a lot that can be done with this, but that is how I created this, and it's a really great way to make your own little effect sounds, and you can make them more custom than just like grabbing effects out of a sample pack. So that's there, and then it's just going through some reverb, a bit of drum bus to fatten it up, a high pass filter, and then an auto pan doing that same sort of like simulated sidechain from the growl. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that atmosphere. Again, it's really just about like adding something nice on top of the growl the second time that you hear it. And yeah, then we have the lead. So if you look at this, it might seem like a lot of notes. It's not actually that crazy. First of all, this is the same pattern as this. It's just in the second half, it's an octave up. But if I fold this, you'll notice it's a lot of the same notes. Like if you look at this, we're really just using like F, that scale. Like not really that crazy of stuff. It's really just a basic F minor scale. You know, you have F, your minor, or you have your ninth, which would be G, the minor third, which is A sharp, the fourth, the minor third is G sharp, the fourth is A sharp, the fifth is C, and the C sharp, which is technically like the minor sixth, I believe you would call it, but You know, it's a very standard scale, like in terms of minor scales. It's just about using it really effectively. If you notice, each time, we're just doing basically 2 notes. It's just F and C sharp, F and C, and then that's where you get 3 notes. But same deal here. You know, it's not like we're doing like all kinds of like... You know, once you start doing all that, that's when it kind of becomes hard to tell what's actually going on. But here, it's a complex melody made with very simple notes. And so, for the sound on this one, it's made using wavetable. So this is a pretty standard sort of like super saw sound. You can see we just have 2 saw waves. The second one's detuned a bit, going into this unison here, and also into the low pass. You can see it really isn't doing anything, but I have it on. But then we have the shimmer unison, which sounds really cool. Like there's the classic mode. You can hear it's a little bit more rigid, but then when we put it on the shimmer, you know, it just creates a really nice texture that you really can't get with any other synth that I've heard. And yeah, then after that, we have a bit of echo and reverb to give the sound some space. You can hear those. And then we have some drum bus to fatten it up. You know, you really want to make sure this lead is very fast. I can't tell you how many times I have sent demos to labels, or really in the early days, where they would say like, you know, the track is good, but like your lead just isn't like quite strong enough. And it's like, this is really like, you know, if you're thinking about this like maybe a more standard song, this is like your singer, you know, you need this to be the main focal point. And then all the other stuff like the percussion and the kick and all that, that's sort of the foundation that this is sitting on. But if this isn't right and isn't big enough, you're gonna have a problem. And yeah, then we just have a high pass filter. I have this auto pan, which is again just making it sound like it's being sidechained. And then this EQ8 here, which we're using just to boost the mids and the highs a bit. Here's without it. And then with it. So it just kind of focuses the sound a little bit more, you know, makes it kind of a bit sharper and more present. And then we just have this percussion. Which if you notice, it just happens like 1 or 2 times every bar. It's really simple. Just having that little, like that little thing in there, it's all you really need. Like, you know, we're not gonna add like a whole drum rack full of percussion or anything. Just having this one thing in here that's coming in to break up the cymbals and make it not just the cymbals. That's all you can really ever need. So we just have that going through a bit of drum bus. And yeah, very simple sound. Then we have the cymbals. So you can see we have like our ride. You can see I've got that high pass a little bit. We have this hi-hat, which is layered together with that one. So we have like a high-end one, and then this nice mid-range one, and you put them together, and you get that. And then we have sort of like more background hi-hats, which would be these 3. So what's happening is you can hear this one is just playing the straight 16th notes. And then we have this one kind of creating a more intense thing because you're getting that. So it's kind of some nice interplay there between those. And even though that's really subtle, you do notice that when you're listening to the track. You know, these are the little things that are going to add to the energy of the track. But then the last thing that we have here would be these jingles. So this is just this like super bright percussion loop that I had here. And this just adds some nice high end and kind of like sparkle to the cymbals. Here's without it. And then with it. It's really subtle, but it's definitely one of those things that's going to make your tracks feel really unique. You know, if you add something like that that is like different than what everybody else does, it's going to make your track stand out that much more and be that much more memorable. And then the group of cymbals, so we just have some drum bus, and a bit of a high pass filter slash high end boost. Here is without that. You know, everything's pretty much there, but then when we turn the stuff on, it really just ties it all together. You know, it's kind of like when we put the drum bus on, we're putting all the cymbals under the same sort of like textural roof, so to speak. And then we have the EQ here, which is just cutting out the lows and boosting the highs just to sort of focus the sound and make sure, you know, these aren't going to get in the way of the bass or anything. And yeah, so that is going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video. It's available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp. This is a really great way to support me. If you guys are enjoying these videos, it's just $5, but it really helps me out so I can keep bringing you guys new videos every day. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. And I will see you tomorrow with another video.